What is up, my metal friends? Adam Steele from Hot Pole Studios here, and today we are checking out the new Grindstein plugin from Christian Kohler and Klirrton. This thing is a beast. Before I got hold of this, I didn't know what to expect. I was thinking, oh yeah, it's like an HM-2 pedal in a plugin. Whoop-de-doo! And it is, but it's also so much more than that, and I've been really quite impressed. And it does a lot. It's an all-in-one plugin situation, and it sounds like this. Now that track that you just heard was this track. The drums are just regular old Superior drummer. It is kind of a boring loop, sorry about that, but I had to throw this together so I could show you. And let's start with the rhythm guitars and open up the Grindstein plugin. So we'll start with the actual Grindstein plugin itself. It sounds like this. Brutal. I'm also sending it to a bit of a room reverb, which I'll turn off for the while. That's me with my trusty Fender Super Strat thing, the Sun Mustang with the Evertune and the Iron Gear pickup. Heavy, but without the Grindstein pickup, it's not heavy. It's this is two different sides in one. This is what he calls the bottom shaker, Christian Kohler. And the HM-2 side. And the reason that this sounds huge as a pedal, and there is a real pedal version of this, is because of those two sides. So the bottom shaker is kind of scoopy, like almost a nu metal cliche kind of sound, but it's got a lot of low end, and then the HM-2 side has a lot of that chainsaw mid. And between them, you get the full low end and you get the definition in the mid and the top, which makes it really, really beefy. So that's why the full mix left, bottom shaker. Full mix right, chainsaw. Together. So let's listen to the top for a second. This is just the bottom shaker. So there's a mid-cut control, a grind control, and a high control. And those are all you get, and a bright and dark switch. I've got it backwards. So here's the bottom shaker with the gain, bass, and treble. And that sounds absolutely huge now, but there's no mid, there's no definition. That's where the top comes in. This is the HM-2 with a mid-cut, grind, and highs, and a bright and dark switch. Let's mix that in with the really bassy bottom shaker. This is working perfectly in Reaper, but the reason that I mention Reaper is that there is an effects loop. And what the effects loop actually means, if I turn this on, is it removes these three controls for the bottom shaker channel. And what you can do then is you can have a completely different, something like a different drive pedal or just a different sound that gets sent into channels 3 and 4 that mixes in at this point. And so you can have something like a real valve distortion unit, if you so prefer, or a different distortion entirely blended in underneath the HM-2 side. And you do that by turning on effects loop and then send a separate channel into channels 3 and 4 on here. So that then becomes 4 in, 2 out, and it blends them all together. And if they're out of phase, there's a phase switch here which can then flip the phase of whatever you've injected in, so that they then, if they weren't right, that should fix that problem. Now, we're not using that right now, but that's a really nice possibility to have. There's also a boost at this point, so I can have that turned on and that will give me more gain. So I've got that boost turned off. If you heard when I turned that to 100%, all the definition in those palm mutes was gone. Although what I could do is if I was doing any sort of high fretboard solo-y thing, I could then turn that boost on and that would have that part suddenly lift out. Now, that's very, very cool, but there is more to this. So the GS, if you see this little chain at the bottom, there's in, gate, GS, EQ, cab, and out. So let's go backwards to the gate first, because there's a very useful gate here, and there's a boost already in this pedal. I can turn that on and off separately, which is just a level boost, and there's a gate, which is a very tight gate. Let's just grab a guitar quickly. And I've recorded all these guitars going into an Audient ASP 880 with nothing fancy, no clever preamps, not even a separate DI box. I know that's usually what I kind of say to do is get a separate DI box, but in this case I didn't. So that's quite a lot of background noise here because I'm running in a studio with all sorts of stuff. But if I go, background noise be gone, and that's with the threshold quite low. That's only at 10%. I mean, ideally, I would like to not have that background noise there, and if I was tracking someone in the studio, I would have them sat all the way over on the sofa with a DI box and proper isolation before anything. Although most of the time I would use an amp, but in this situation, this is really cool. So that's there. Then there's the EQ after the Grindstein, and this is really clever. This is very guitarist friendly. It's got input and output, which do exactly what they suggest. And it's got an on and off switch, so you can see what it sounds like with and without. It's called the Flesh. And so it's got the dozer, which is the super low end. So take that out. That'll be thin. In, it'll be full. Just get it back to where it was. There's cleansing. Without cleansing, it's got that low mid 111 thing. And with it all the way in, it's got a bit of a cleaner mid low. It's not the same as an actual mid scoop. So here's the mid scoop. No mid scoop. All the mid scoop. Depending on what you're doing, you might want to pull some scoop in if you're going for like old school 90s metal. There's chainsaw, which brings out some of the slightly higher frequencies. So too much of that isn't my kind of thing, but if you're really going for that kind of thing, you can really make that stand out of a mix by pulling the chainsaw. And Blade is the super top end, and it's quite subtle. And what I think is really cool here is that none of these settings can go absolutely stupid and ruin your mix. Like, let's go full dozer, cleansing, scoop, chainsaw, blade. Let's see how this sounds. Not my kind of sound, but let's back the scoop and chainsaw off a bit. It's a little rough, but the fact is I could use that in a mix if that's what I was sent. I would much rather not do. I would much rather have a different sound, but there you go. And the cab section, there are 7 choices, and they all sound good. So there's Filth and Slime, which is very scoopy. More gore. Modern Disgust. Modern Gore. Northwards. Wolverine. And Bloodbath. All very usable tones, and of course they are because Christian Cola knows exactly what he's doing. I'm going to put this down, so I don't have to talk to you anymore. Now, on the lead, I've done something very similar here, but this has some room reverb going on, and I've put a low cut afterwards just for the mix. I can turn that off while I show you. So this is quite a similar Grindstein setting. So the mid scoop is completely gone. The cab, I went with the Modern Disgust. And so this has the boost on, which is making the lead a bit more liquid sounding. And there's no mid cut at all, so all the mids are free to come through over the top of this. And the real pièce de résistance, this does bass. Now, I've got 2 channels of bass going. One is just amplitude, which is the Ampeg SVT, which is rounding out the bottom end, because on its own, the Grindstein is just a little bit... It's not got enough low end for the bass, but as a grind tone... And that's got a little bit of the room reverb on as well. And I could add a little bit more top end on that grind as well, but I was finding that, again, in the mix, it was just a little much. So yeah, again, the drums could be better, but for a quick demo, I mean, the actual Grindstein sounds fantastic. So this does a lot, and it's currently on sale at $49. There's a link down in the description, which is an affiliate link because Christian Cola sent me this and said, hey, you should do this. So if you do want to buy it, it does help me out, but I still think this is a brutal sounding plugin that's got a lot more than I thought it would have. So yeah, all applicable links in the description. Thanks everybody for watching. Thanks to the Patreons for support, the patrons even. And I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye. Hey everyone, that might be the end of the video, but if you fancy carrying on this conversation, we have a Discord server. Link is in the description. We're also on Patreon, which is something you can really help us with. We also are on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter at Hop Pole Studios. See you there.